What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tapping into another episode of the Mindful Moneymakers podcast, where we break down all the tips, tricks, and mindset shifts you need to make if you want to live a life by design instead of by default. And today, again, I'm super excited to be bringing to you another leader in the energetic space, helping you build a better relationship with yourself, a deeper, more meaningful relationship with yourself so that you can move forward effectively towards your inner calling. Today, we're talking with Nicki Ojeda, or Tatiara, right? Who has been
Right.
reading tarot cards and working with essential oils for nearly 35 years. She offers insight, hope, and power through her tarot, clairvoyant, and past life readings. She offers custom essential oil blends based on your online Zoom reading, as well as intuitive archetypal insight. Tatiara specializes in online past life and tarot readings, offering the querent a look into their probabilities and current trajectories, enabling them to make informed decisions and changes to create their desired outcomes. She also gives people the tools to correct their unconscious energy patterns through her archetypal workshops, providing her clients with the means to expand their own archetypal awareness and personal mythic correspondences. Hey, Nikki, thank you for spending some time with us today. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me here. Glad to be here.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. I can't wait to jump in. But
All
before we
right.
do, Nikki, I want to give you, because I gave you a brief overview, introduction rather, into what you are, who you are, and what you do. But I want to give you an opportunity to kind of introduce yourself a little bit more in depth. If you would, tell us a little bit about how you got started, where you are now, and where are we headed.
All right. Great. So, I've been doing this for 35 years. I started when I was 15. I'll do the math. So, I worked in a little herb shop when I was 15, and I learned all about herbs and essential oils. And the owner was my mentor, and she gave me the herbal tarot deck. So I learned all the symbology at once at a pretty young age, and I already had a symbolic, mystical mindset. Just growing up, I've always been in touch with that side of things, and I was just so it was so me that I never did look back. And then I ended up working at Renaissance festivals, worked at a tarot reading booth. I was a stage performer for a long time, and all those things got me adjacent to psychic fairs and other state fairs and stuff like that. Um, so, it's been quite a long time going, but really, I've only been doing this online since 2020. And I was part of this sisterhood circle all around the world. And so I've done tarot readings for people in Belgium, in Australia, Italy, Greece, UK. So I really feel like I've stepped up my own game in the last 2 years. I decided to squeeze the gift out of this situation if it was the last thing I was going to do. So, yeah, I'm very thankful. And I've sort of evolved that into online workshops that I offer, because I'm all about archetypes. And archetypes is a big word that more and more people are talking about, and they're unconscious energy patterns. They're either in us, and they're also in, like, movie tropes and whatnot. Like, if you think of the word the hero, that's an archetype, you know and then, like, the inner child, that's an archetype. So it's like they run the gamut of the whole human experience. But I find that when we're trying to level up, I'm all about positive thinking. Yes, I am. But nothing creates your reality more than your unconscious patterns. You can visualize and do as many affirmations as you can, which I still recommend. But it's only half the picture, because you got to get in there and look at the unconscious things turning, like what's my relationship with money? What's my relationship with being my truth, my authentic self? So that's the long and short of it there.
And I think it's tremendously important that we start paying attention to things like these, right? Because that subconscious, that unconscious mind runs at least 95% of your life and your experience. And I find it heartbreaking, right? To
Mhm.
witness so many people feeling victimized by life when really their reality is a projection, a production of what's going on in their unconscious mind. So people like you, I think, are absolutely needed and typically come about through some personal experience, right? Where you became
Mhm.
awakened to the power of your own subconscious mind, right? What was that like for you? What has been your inner experience with, the power that you've been wielding your entire life? Were you always like aware of it, or?
I didn't know what it was. I mean, I had past life memories of being in ancient Egypt when I was basically I was 5 years old. I know for a fact because it was when King Tut was on the cover of National Geographic. We were sitting in the dentist office, and I was looking through it, and I was sobbing. And I'm like, remember when that was all, look, it's broken, And my mom was not, my family was not receptive because they were the least enlightened example of religious that you could probably imagine, right? Not so much the beautiful guidance and inspiration that religion ought to be, but rather the everybody should be the same, blah, 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 yucky stuff, And so having that on top of me, when I came into this life, I came in here to bust boundaries, and change things. I have the North Node in Aquarius, whoever's into astrology out there. And so my time has come because there's this age of Aquarius coming in, and people they're feeling the need for meaning. They're feeling the need to be authentic, And so I had that as early on, and I really had to delve deep. In a way, psychology led me to have, and just inner work, trying to figure out myself out, even pretty young. I read Carl Jung at 10 years old, so I used to read everything. I didn't quite understand it till later, but it resonated with something within me. And so, just having to fight to be myself. So let me give you an example about an archetype being upgraded to its next best energy, right? So coming in with me being who I am and feeling the need to be true in a situation that didn't allow that caused me to create an archetype within unconsciously called the take no shit rebel, right? Excuse my français. So this take no shit rebel was perfect at the time because I named it that, by the way, because it protected me. It helped me stick to my guns of why I was here, and it kept me strong. But if I were to stick with that without upgrading it, it would be in my way. It would be what we call a maladaptive pattern, right? Like what might have worked when I was 13 isn't going to work now that I'm 50, right? So that's really what it is. I seek to help people get in there through various exercises. It's beyond the mind, including the mind, breath, movement, and it's like a shamanic journey where we go in there. And, I have a lot of compassion for having the victim archetype online. I really do. And many of us have had things happen, myself included, that would completely warrant that. And processing that with the highest compassion for ourselves and doing it without judgment, which we aren't taught in this society, right?
Mhm.
We have to honor it, acknowledge it, and feel those feelings, but then strike a balance of not wallowing in those feelings or identifying with them. It's like, so if I had this victim experience, what am I going to be next? Am I going to be an advocate, a warrior, a sacred, love aligned type of rebel where it's like, hey, I am going to rebel, but it's with love for the collective and for what everybody needs to shine their unique light, right? So
Right.
when people look in and see what gave me that victim archetype, be kind to yourself, for goodness sake, and just experiment, be curious, and say, what's the next best expression of this? Don't go, what's the absolute best? Because then you'll fall into perfectionism, right? Which is a big trap. But if you just work on what's the next best level, and that's one place to start. So I talk a lot.
There's the podcast. That's the point. So you're in the right place for sure.
Right.
And I love that. What I'm hearing, and I'd like to echo it, is this idea around grace, right?
Mm.
Because I
Mhm.
think that the judgment, the fear, the regret for a lot of things in our life is what prevents us from moving forward as effective and as lovingly as we could and probably should, right? So I wanted to really highlight that, it's important to have, compassion and patience with your past and with even, victimized situations, victimized experiences that you've had in your life, and not identify with them is one that you said, because that identity will completely take over and embody and dictate how you move into the future. So I'm excited that you're here to separate people, to support people in separating who they are, what they are from what they've been through, right? So that they can transcend it. Tremendously important stuff. Let me ask you this, because I know that it's hard in a lot of times, in a lot of cases. I mean, in my own experience, it comes with a lot of it takes a lot of courage and a lot of tears. Sometimes it takes realizations, it takes detaching from old mindsets, old ways of thinking, right? And that could be tremendously challenging.
Mm.
What is the thing, or the things, or the experience rather, that the people listening right now can look forward to as a result of doing the type of work that you support people through?
Sure. Well, one thing to remember is that it's like a spiral, the healing journey. And it is a journey. I would never try to say, oh, it's easy, just switch your archetype, right? This is about a journey, and it can be um, a long time. So just keeping that radical self-acceptance, it's something we're not taught either. And it's like how to take this energy that's happened to me or whatever it is that I don't like.
Mhm.
And it's like, how can I accept that it happened? That's really hard. It's so much compassion, but accepting it doesn't mean you like it, right? Doesn't mean you condone it. But if you accept it, you sort of free up some energy that's tied back in the past, and get that energy forward and just say, how did that make me better? How did that make me stronger? And more importantly, how can I use it to serve the collective? Even if it's just a few people, one person, it leads to the collective. And so personally, I channel the archetype of Chiron, who is the wounded healer. You may have heard of it here and there. I channel all types of archetypes, but these are just the ones that really speak to a lot of people, because we are not in the most nurturing society. And I do feel that's changing. I see that this is changing, but it's not going to be fast either, collectively, just like it's not going to be fast for our inner journey. So if you just think of it like each iteration of the spiral, I'm just going to be that much more closer to a leveling up, that much closer. And just, you know, do your best to be grounded in your life. And the more that you can come from your truth, really, not the truth that, Aunt Myrtle said you got to do, or society says whatever. Oh, you can't wear that. It's last year's. Psh, that is so late. Okay, that's a 1989 slang, but whatever. It's late. It's done. Okay.
Mhm.
There's a light that's the world needs, that only going to come from you. No
Mhm.
pressure, but we need it. So if you can come from following your gut, your heart, your third eye, your spirit, and in touch with whatever higher power or the highest part of yourself, whatever speaks to you, right? God, goddess, the universe, the higher power, we know what we're talking about. You can be an atheist and you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's when there's a sunrise and you're like, oh,
Mhm.
the more you can be in line with that, it's like there's an organic unfolding that's happening here where, and don't get mad at me, but the things that might have been bad that happened to you might have been necessary to make that awesome shine, you know, stronger out there from your soul. So it's that radical self-acceptance, and be nice to yourself. Be
Right.
kind.
You talking that talk. I'm getting the shivers. Yeah, you say a lot of so many important things, that inner knowing, right? That is calling you, to shine your light. You said that there is a light that can only be shown by you, right? And also there is something that he said about how a light can't be seen without darkness. Light
Mm,
needs darkness in order to be experienced, right? So it's a beautiful thing to be able to take a couple of steps back from the shadow sometimes, to look at the shadow, to observe the shadow, to become at peace with the shadow and realize that it plays a very important part in you expressing your light. And to have somebody support you through that, I think is the reason why the world is getting better. It's transforming because we've been hurt, we've been overwhelmed, and we've been weighed down. And then there's a certain group of people that decided that it doesn't have to be like that, that we can create a more utopic, society filled with love and positivity, optimism. And then those people have committed themselves to supporting those interested in creating that, to work together and collaborate, which brings us to this conversation. And it's what's going to bring everybody that, now connects to you as a result of this conversation together. I think that that's how the higher power works, through frequency and vibration.
Mm,
And I'm so glad that we met on this frequency and vibration. Let me
me
ask
too.
you.
Oh, you're
So,
so talking my language.
oh yeah, yeah, it's a whole vibe. It's an entire vibe. So what I think I could guess, but I'm not going to. I'm just gonna ask, right? Nikki, what would you say it's like to work with you?
Well, I'll tell you one thing, not to be scary, but I don't sugarcoat anything because I don't want to be giving you a disservice by not showing you where the thing is. So we go in there, we go deep because that's where the juice is. That's where the treasure is, you know? And um, I've done a lot of readings. And there's always some nugget of truth where there's just this hidden strength there, with that I see within the person. And they're just like 2 steps away. So I've been told it's inspiring.
Mhm.
I've been told it's daunting. I've been told it's transformative, and I've been told it's interesting. I mean, we're all so different, but I guarantee you that you will get a nugget of truth that you need, because that's what I'm absolutely committed to doing. And I feel like I've finally tapped in, perfected what I'm doing here to help others, and it's amazing because what you were saying about the darkness, I did a whole course on shadow work. And we talk about spiritual bypassing all the time, where you're just like, oh, I'm up here, I'm on my meditation cushion, who cares about all the iniquities in the world? I'm just right here, right? But also, you can bypass the light and you can be stuck in the shadow as well. And it works both ways. So you don't want to be, doing the shadow bypassing thing either, where you're stuck in your own darkness. It's like we have to see it and honor it. It's just like one of these things that's different in our culture. It's newer, and you could say ever since we've had electric light, to a certain degree, we've lost an element of our relationship to darkness, because
Mhm.
darkness isn't bad. Sometimes it's rest. It's part of a cycle, let alone our depths. I'm all about getting into the body. And there's some spiritual traditions who, they sort of malign the lower chakras or whatever. It's like part of my work is integrating that spiritual light into the body and out into the lights. Otherwise, you're just on your meditation cushion. Thank you. Keep doing that, but that's not it. That's not all. I mean, you have to have it affect you down to your cells, down to your waves before they become particles, right? Don't stop me or I will get out there. But anyway, having a good relationship to our depths is really a big part of this.
Mhm.
So,
Super.
yeah.
Dive in. We get deep, right? We go find the treasure, we find the thing, we address it, we I was gonna say make love to it, but make love with it, I guess. Or whatever. I think that the answer is always finding a way to love it. And if you can love the darkest sides of you, then it's easy to love the light sides.
Yeah.
And when you do that, I think it also becomes easier to love the darker sides of other people, right? And
Mm-hmm.
now you're experiencing, when you accomplish that, more rich, meaningful, deeper relationships, right? Because you can see the resonance in another human being, that we may not be identical in our experience, but I understand what it's like to have a human experience, and I can give not only myself but you grace, different people grace. Um,
Right.
that's super dope. I know that there's somebody listening right now that is like, I need to connect with Nikki. ASAP. So how do we get connected with
So my website is tarotwithtatiara.com. There's also a link tree there if you want to look at my other media and my current workshop. But I do online Zoom readings, but either tarot or past life readings. So you can just schedule your appointment right there. Then once you've picked tarot or past life, you have the option of whether or not you'd like the energetically designed essential oil based on the readings, the symbolism shown that's to assist you. You still have to do the work though. You still have to do the magic. I can only give you the formula, So then you can do that. And I would love to talk to some of you. In fact, I would love to offer just a little coupon code. Maybe one of you will come and see me to get $10 off. And it's just spellcast, all one word. I think it's uppercase. I'm not sure if it matters, but once you check out, there's the little coupon code right there. So just a little offering to keep it going, because I tell two friends, they tell two friends, and then there's just a little bit more grace out there, So, and also I am hosting an upcoming workshop. It's called Embody Your Artist Archetype. And the philosophy behind that is we're all creating all the time. We're all creators. Life is art. And we're going to get in there and we're going to alchemize some old beliefs about whether or not you're a good artist, whether or not you're a creator, right? Or a co-creator. And we're going to use some different archetypes, including the inner child. And we're going to do some Greek gods like the Muses and Apollo. It's just going to be a really interesting, like a shamanic experiential journey. It's like, I'm so excited. And that's April 17th, 7 p.m. Eastern. It's on Eventbrite. And you'll see that on my link tree if anyone's interested in just delving into and get your artist set free from all those old armor and conditioning and all that. So,
So don't hesitate. I know that they're ready. The links are going to be in the bio, in the description. As always, jump in there. Let's connect with Nicki and attend the workshop, right? Because it's going to be a transformative experience for sure. Your life will not be the same after having this experience. I'm so grateful that we had this opportunity to talk, Nicki. But before I let you go, all right, got one more question for you. Ready? What is one thing that anybody listening right now can do? Maybe it's a baby step, right? To start living a little bit more by design and less by default.
Okay. We need to view money and goals and all that as energy. And we need to think of them as just raw, pure energy. They don't have these negative associations naturally. So if you could just start to think of, here's a little test for yourself. Put some money on your altar or in a sacred space and see how that makes you feel. If you feel very uncomfortable, that'll give you an idea of your relationship to money. So if you just want to level up that relationship to abundance, just start thinking everything in energetic terms. And that is just, it's just out there flowing. And everything we do to make it complicated comes from artificial attitudes. So energy. It's all about energy.
It is all about energy. That's a fact. And when you learn to play with it, I almost said like manipulate it, which is true, but to dance, to do the dance and to be with it, to flow with it, I think everything changes. So that's golden advice. I'm so grateful that you came here to share your experience, to share your love, with us today. And everybody at home, as always, love, be well. And don't forget to have the guts to follow your guts. Peace.
Mhm.